Hi everyone, welcome back to Creative Change, where social work and real life meet. Today I am joined by Miss Elaine. She is a human services program consultant, and we are going to have a conversation about what human services work looks like and the realities of helping professions, and also what the impact of systems level work has on real people every day. I'm super excited about this conversation, and I hope you are too.
So I'm Elaine Bagwell, and I am a TANF policy consultant at the state level. And what that means is that I have two coworkers, and between the three of us, we performed oversight and compliance over the state's counties to make sure that they are and I'm trying to think of the best word, to make sure that they are following the program rules as set forth from the federal regulations. So we follow the federal regulations that are found in Title 45, and then also the TANF Social Security Act and the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act of 1996. In addition to state statutes. So we have a lot of compliance and regulations to go over. And our team, there's three of us on our team, and we are responsible for writing policy and then making sure that our policy follows all of those guidelines. And then we have a team that includes 7 CQIs, and that's continuous quality specialists, and they actually go into the counties, perform monitoring, and check for compliance. And then throughout the year, when we're not monitoring, we're available to answer any questions that the counties may have on the policy. And we also conduct 4 in-person trainings per year and 4 virtual trainings per year. And then let me give you just a little bit of a background on the TANF program. So the goal of TANF is to assist families so that children can be cared for in their homes. So in doing that, we work very closely with the CPS program, the Medicaid and the food stamp programs to make sure those families have what they need. We promote the parents' self-sufficiency through providing employment preparation. We counsel our clients on out of wedlock pregnancies. We talk about the importance of having a family unit. That's not always possible. So if it's not, then of course we support the mother in any way that we can to make sure that she's getting what she needs to keep her child in her home. And our main premise is that we are family-centered, and we believe that every family is its own source of intervention, and that they're responsible for obtaining and maintaining self-sufficiency. Trying to think, I may be rambling here. So with doing that, with the family-centered beliefs, of course, we feel like that everyone deserves respect. Everyone needs to be heard, and that every family has their own strengths, and that it's not our place to pass judgment. We are here solely to support those families in a partnership role. We want to make sure that we are not pushing things on families that they are not wanting to do. We work with the family to come up with solutions together. And then again, like I say, our main goal is to make sure that children can be cared for in their own homes.
A lot of questions that I've gotten when I say that I'm going into social work is, why do you want to take babies away? And it's not that at all. A lot of the times it's not that. And there's a lot of programs that trying to keep families together.
Right.
And so that's awesome to know that there are those policies that are being written and goals being met to make that possible. So what originally drew you into wanting to do this type of work?
So in 2001, I was working at a paper mill, a manufacturing plant that produced paper, and it closed. So after that, I went into work in education, and I worked at the local elementary school. And I just felt like that's where my heart was to take care of the children and make sure the children were getting what they needed. So I worked in the elementary school setting for 14 years. And at that time, I had both of my children in college. And so unfortunately, the pay from education wasn't quite there to take care of us. So I moved over to the local Department of Social Services and started working there. And very luckily, I was placed in the TANF program. And I just felt like that's where God wanted me to be, because in the local county, I worked one-on-one with those families. And it was a lot of families that I already knew from the school system. And I felt like I was making a difference in their lives. And I felt like because I was local to the area, local to the county, folks trusted me, and I could help them find resources that they needed. And even if it did lead, to a CPS involvement, I was right there with the family to help them do what they needed to do to get their children back. But like I said, that was our main goal, was to make sure that we kept the children in the home. And it was just such a blessing when, we were able to maybe help a mother that had not had the opportunity to finish her education, to get her GED and get her enrolled in a community college and get her certified in a program so that she had the income that she needed to take care of her family. And then, like I say, just seeing them be so happy when they realized that they were able to do it on their own, and that there was life after public assistance.
and that's, I think, a lot of the times what people don't see in human services and in social work is the good, happy parts. You see a lot of the bad, but there are those people that change the way you think about helping, because their situations bless you while you're blessing them.
Absolutely.
So when people hear Human Services Program Consultant, what do you wish they understood about your role?
I wish that they did recognize the human part of that even though our job is to make sure that policies are followed and compliance is upheld, our number one goal is that family and taking care of families.
That's human service. That's service to humans. Yeah. What do you think are some challenges people working in human services are facing currently?
A lot of changes on the federal level. And there are a lot of changes that are coming down that we as an organization do not have a choice in. And it's not necessarily changes that we are excited to make. Some changes we do get excited about, such as maybe increasing the amount of financial support that we're able to offer families. But then there are some changes that come down that really weigh heavily on us, especially when we are dealing with immigrants and refugees. So a lot of those new policies that have come down have caused us pause to think about how we can continue to help those families and follow the federal policies.
That has been something that being in the school system the past year has been really hard, especially I've been in the counseling department at my school system, and hearing stories when the kids just can't sit in the classroom anymore because they're so overwhelmed with what's going on. They come to the counseling office and just unload on us, and the stories of what they're having to deal with on a personal level has been really hard to hear lately.
It's so unfortunate that it is getting all the way down to the children, and the kids they're not being allowed to be children and have a childhood for worrying about what's going on in their families and in the world.
It's crazy that they have to worry about that.
It truly is.
That it's not something that 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds should have to worry about. So what's something about this field that people on the outside may not see or completely understand?
I think people on the outside may not understand the time and thought that goes into writing the policies to make sure that we are, like I said, following those federal regulations, following those state statutes, but still embodying our beliefs for families. It's very hard to write policies and follow those compliance rules and keep the family in the forefront. But that is our goal when we write the policies, is to try to make sure that we are following what's laid out before us, but that we are still able to put those families first. And that takes lots and lots of time.
Yes. Yeah, I can't imagine.
Right. And in addition to that, like you say, the time that it takes to get it finished from start to finish, but then in the meantime, you're still having to do double checks to make sure nothing has changed since you've written that policy. Yes. Before it's published. So
helping professions, human services and social work, they can be emotionally heavy. So how do you personally manage stress or avoid burnout dealing with this role?
I think it's very important to take time off that you have, because like we were talking just a moment ago, it takes a lot of time to do our jobs. So there are weeks that you're working 80 hours a week. So when you have the opportunity to take those days off, you need to make sure that you do that. Don't carry over vacation days. Take them, spend time with your family, spend time with your church family. And the hardest thing that I had to learn was to leave it behind. Once I turn off my computer for the day, I had to make myself stop thinking about it, because if not, it just wears you down. So, and that has been years now. So when I first began in the social work program, I was hardly sleeping because I was keeping the families on my mind, keeping the cases on my mind, thinking, what could I do better? What can I do differently? What can I do tomorrow to help this family? And that was making me to not be a good caseworker, because I was tired and wore out. And, by the time Friday rolled around from a week of no sleep, you began to be irritable or whatnot. So like I say, just years of experience has taught me to take that time off and end the day when the computer closes.
Having those boundaries set, that when your work computer goes off, that's that separation between work and personal life. Something that I struggle with is not taking it home. And I guess it's also hard. I don't work in the county that I live in, where I'm 2 counties away from where I work.
And that played a huge part into my decision from moving from the county level to the state level. Because, like you say, I lived in the county that I worked in. Um, I saw my coworkers, I saw my families, and it was very difficult to make that separation. So when there was a chance to move to the state level, I jumped at that opportunity because I was still being afforded the opportunity to help people, but I was able to do it without being maybe on the front lines in my county, if that makes sense.
No, that it makes complete sense. We've had multiple professors tell us that if you work in the same area that you live in, there's going to be that overlap. And I know you're running back and forth from the county you live in to the state capital multiple times. So that's something you have to figure in too.
Definitely. And then, like you, someone that has small children, you have to figure in how am I going to get my children to school and picked up, and groceries and dinner cooked and all that. So yeah, you have to figure all that into the picture. So
yeah. So what advice would you give students or newer professionals entering the human service or social work field? What's one or two pieces of advice that you'd give them?
So I think the first piece of advice that I would give would be to truly look deep within yourself and make sure that this is a field that you're compassionate about and that you have a love for, because if you don't commit yourself 100% into this field, you will not be successful. It's a hard field to be in. You see and you hear things that people could not even imagine. So if you're not 100% fully devoted, then choose a different field path. And then secondly, like we were talking earlier, the self-care portion. Make sure from the very beginning that you are giving yourself that self-care and that you're able to build that separation between your work and your personal life.
So what skills do you think are most important for someone entering this field?
Really, I think there's the soft skills. There's the people skills, being able to have a conversation with someone, being able to be organized, to keep yourself together, and being compassionate. I think if you're not able to bring compassion into the job, then it's going to be much harder to be successful.
Definitely. You have to be able to put yourself in their shoes.
Right.
So if someone wanted to work at a systems or policy level someday, what should they know? Like, how is it different from being working on the individual level?
So at the policy level, I would say that you have got to have at least a little bit of a love for reading, because you spend a lot of time reading, like I said, the federal regulations and being able to tear those apart and interpret them correctly so that you can write it in a policy that works for your area. When I moved to the state level, that was a huge surprise to me, the amount of hours that I would spend just reading regulations and then trying to interpret them. So
I feel like it's not just love of reading, but it would have to be, you would have to comprehend everything that you're reading, and then also have a background in law or some sort of grant writing or something to be able to understand all of the different policies and what the policies require, and everything that surrounds all the different federal regulations and wording too.
Yeah, because you would not think about it, but the use of specific word or specific wording is very important, because you have to make sure that it's not going to be interpreted the wrong way. Mm-hmm. So I may write a piece of policy and then revise it 20 or 30 times before I'm even ready to share it with my coworkers.
What gives you hope right now in human services work? I know that it's a lot of heavy stuff going on currently, but what gives you hope every day going into work?
Well, what gives me hope is the state that I work for. I feel like that there is going to be a lot of growth in our state government with our current governor. And I feel like he and his staff understand the human services program. And I feel like they're going to try to push for legislature to be written and followed through, so that the citizens in our states can receive programs and services that they need to be helpful for families.
I am very, very glad that there are people advocating for human service legislature. That's amazing. We had a presenter come into our class at one point during my grad program, and he works with a certain group of students, and he was telling us that if we want real change, we have to put the human service and social workers into the places of power for change to actually happen. We can't just sit back and say, oh, we wish this was this way, or we need to advocate for this, or we need this legislative policy to do this. It's great for us to advocate for that, but if we want real change, we have to put the human service professionals and the social workers into those roles where they can make change happen. And he said politicians do it all the time. They put people in where they need things done. And he said, so why don't we as human service professionals and social workers, why don't we do that? And we were all like, oh, that's great. we should probably do that. And so I thought that was a really interesting concept, and I don't know why none of us had ever thought about it before, but it makes sense. If you want change to happen, you put your people where the change is happening. So
and start at your community level, within your community, your city government, your county government, and work your way up.
Yes. Yeah, that's excellent advice. How do we better support the people working and helping professions and social work?
I think what you just said, get involved, advocate for them, advocate for the programs that we have, that we get the funding that is needed to keep those programs and services going.
I think that's the route that we're all going to have to start moving. Whoever's really good with the policy writing and the advocating and the political maneuvering, they're going to have to start moving into those areas if we really want to advocate for the families and the individuals that need their voice heard. I really think that's what's going to have to happen.
And then, and also trying to make the public aware of programs and services and the reasons behind those programs and services. it just makes my blood get on fire every time I hear something about, well, if that family would get a job and get off welfare, they would be okay. And that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I have mentioned multiple times to many people that if they could just trade places with some of my families for just a week, I'd like to see the state that they would be in after a week of having to deal with some of the situations that my families deal with. Because I think it's a lack of empathy and a lack of understanding, because people just don't know what actually is going on.
And that understanding, that's the big word, is people do not understand what families are going through, and then again, they don't understand really the programs and the outcomes of the programs.
You have been working on a baby closet for your small community that you live in, and you did a giveaway this weekend. Did that go well?
It did. So that was our first giveaway, and we are a very small community, but we had 8 families that came out.
Awesome.
Yes. So I was just so excited, and I was able to have good conversations with those families. And in addition to the baby closet supplies, I was able to offer up some other resources that might be available in our community. So I just felt like it was a huge success. And, because my goal was, if I reach one family and if I'm able to help one family, then I've met the goal. But like I say, we had 8 families come out, and I'm hoping that our program will continue to grow. And I just want to get this little punch in there. So, of course, I'm a Christian, and, we definitely believe in pro-life, but sometimes I feel like we stop at pro-birth. We want that baby to be born, but then we don't want to support the mother, the family, the baby after the birth. So that was my main goal with our baby closet, is to provide that support ongoing. We got the babies here. Now we need to support the families with what they need to keep those babies healthy and help them to grow.
Yes, I think that is absolutely amazing. If anyone wants to donate, or financially or with supplies, is there a way that they can reach out to you, or would you rather them go through me and I can get them your personal contact information?
If they could reach out to you and then you could get them my personal information, that would be great.
Okay. I can do that. I just wanted to put a plug in for the baby closet because I think it's amazing, and I want to make sure that it continues for that community, because it's very special to me too. So
right.
So
well, thank you so much.
But thank you so much for doing this interview today. And if I have anyone that wants to reach out, I will get them your information about the baby closet. But again, thank you for talking to me.
Thank you so much, and it has been my pleasure.
I will talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
If you guys want more information on Miss Elaine's baby closet or her role as a human services program consultant, please let me know.